Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Sunday, September 13th, 2020. In both the Lynn Life and the Jamie Body Mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are already living by the many Search for Truth rules already given to the Search for Truth community by wiser minds above all of us. And those rules include fulfilling our assignments, the assignments that we agreed to in our pre-birth planning. And these two host lives, the microphone just switched, these two host lives in their pre-birth planning agreed to be part of the assignment given to precisely 1 million souls to be portals for higher vibration presences to work through, to come into these dense times. And they are dense times.
Yeah, they really
into the
are.
density in these crucial times, and the times themselves are also dense, and you can look up multiple meanings of that word. And this is an important time because humanity is killing all life on Earth and shows no signs of stopping that, and no signs of having any intention whatsoever to stop that. And all signs are that humanity bizarrely intends to destroy all life on Earth. And
That's right.
bacteria will do this. The microphone just switched again. If you have a petri dish with bacteria in it, they will overpopulate the petri dish, and the population will collapse and crash. And humanity as a species is doing the identical thing, proving that we are no smarter than bacteria.
That's right.
Which is unfortunate, but the truth. And the microphone is switching again, and they're talking about the IPCC report, the International Panel on Climate Change reports.
I
and
hear you.
How the IPCC reports are saying that the wealthy countries must be carbon neutral in very short order.
That's true.
And that these IPCC reports do not take into account the tree destruction that is occurring and the tipping points that are being crossed already. For example, the wildfires that are burning in the American West.
That's right.
Obviously, we've passed some tipping point, and now all of that extra CO2 going into the atmosphere is not taken into account in the IPCC report.
That's right.
Nor is all the tree murdering that's going on just by direct human action, by choice. None of it's taken into account. Nor is the methane emission from the Arctic seabed being taken into account, and that's happening now.
That's true.
So we're passing multiple tipping points, meaning that the IPCC report is wildly optimistic about how much longer we have to change, and probably we need to change now. Like, stop it now. Stop it, meaning stop. Somebody asked, what do you mean by that? And they're kind of grumpy.
Yeah.
Stop polluting, stop extracting fossil fuels, just leave it in the ground, stop it, put it down. There are other things you can do to make a living. Stop it. Just put it down, leave it in the ground. Stop poisoning things, because the vertebral die off and the invertebrate die off.
That's
also,
right.
but everything's dying. And you know about the cancer epidemic, we assume, or you're, brain dead. And where do you think that comes from? Obviously poison. Duh. So we've got to stop poisoning our environment, and we've got to stop polluting with fossil fuel emissions. And the fossil fuel extraction is also hugely damaging, hugely polluting. We've got to stop all of that, and we really need to stop it now. And we see that there are some hurricanes that have been created this season, and for the past at least 3 seasons we've been watching it. We think it's more like 5 or 10 maybe seasons that they've been winding up hurricanes. They, meaning godly presences, have been winding up hurricanes to throw them at the major cities of destruction.
That's
Some
right.
good examples are Washington, D.C., and Houston, which labels itself the oil capital of the world.
That's
so
right.
obviously those are 2 good targets, and obviously there are targets in other countries as well, but we live in North America, and therefore our focus needs to be on improving North America rather than pointing fingers at other countries saying, oh, they should clean up their act. And obviously they should clean up their act, but let's us clean up our acts first. Here in this country, we as a country. And if we bill ourselves as the wealthiest country on earth, which is such an embarrassment, but people do prance around spouting nonsense like that,
yeah, that's right.
then we have the responsibility to take the lead on cleaning up this mess that we, our species, have created, and arguably our society.
That's true.
The microphone is switching again, and someone's saying, so now we come to, and it's kind of like the Gettysburg Address feeling again, which is an interesting reference. It keeps coming up, and it's starting to concern us. But the inquiry is about these hurricanes that are currently in play, and there are 6 right now, 6 Atlantic storms in various processes of development.
That's right.
And they have names like Sally and Paulette, Renee, showing that it's really late in the alphabet.
That's right.
And that's bad, really bad. And some of them aren't yet named, so they will be whatever T is, and U and V. You know, here we go, which is really bad.
Yep.
And what's worse is that the storms, if you study the wind maps, which we have had the assignment to study the wind maps for about 3 years, so we're getting to where we can kind of read the wind maps now.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you study the wind maps, you can see where these storms are headed. It's kind of like what their destiny is. It's kind of like when you meet some people, you can tell what their destiny is, you know, and whether or not they fulfill their destiny is up to the choice. Different story. It's up to the choices that they make. But these storms, you can tell their destiny, and they're supposed to just get on the track and go slam. And in this case, we've seen at least 3 of these storms this season, more like 5, who have been headed at Houston, wound up, and they sent to Houston, and they keep getting deflected into Louisiana or Mexico.
That's right.
And that's gross, and that's what we want to talk about. That's what we want to inquire about. We're interested about that. And also, there are also storms that are being wound up and sent for Washington, D.C., and it's that same tone of wind it up, fling it. And they keep getting deflected. And right now, Paulette is just going to hit Bermuda and, make life hard for the poor black people. And then, rather than continuing on to D.C., which is the assignment, there's something that's making a hard right turn, supposedly, or is predicted to make a hard right turn. And we can feel that Paulette's destiny is in D.C., like she's supposed to walk through the marble halls of power, so to speak. Like I can feel the hurricane. It feels like skirts, like swishing skirts.
Yes, it does.
Going through some Capitol Hill buildings, knocking things over.
Yeah.
You know how people with big skirts will knock things off of desks?
Exactly.
It feels like that. And she's supposed to do it, and that's her destiny. And we're really concerned that dead people are messing with her, and she's not being allowed to fulfill her destiny.
That's true.
And that she's just the current one with that destiny, and that you can see a tumble ball rolling downhill of the storms that came before, also not able to fulfill their destinies of hitting Washington, D.C. And somebody's saying, well, why? In a kind of like an arguing tone, why would that be? And so, friends, now the microphone just switched. Friends, there are 2 major political parties right now in the United States of America.
That's true.
And there is an election in play. And both of these political parties are supposed to put forth platforms. Although the Republicans have decided to break with tradition and they're not putting forth a platform, they're simply saying they stand with President Trump, which you might want to study Nazi Germany. It's really important that you guys understand that you are being told straight out, that this is following the trajectory of Nazi Germany, okay? So it's really important to pay attention, and you're not going to have any excuse that's credible that humanity wasn't warned, okay? So the Republican platform is just turning into a fascist regime, and read history. If you want to argue with that, then you just sound ignorant. Ignorant. Okay, go read your history books. Shuffle off. Okay. And now, here's the disappointment, is that the Democratic Party also removed ending fossil fuel subsidies from their political platforms. So
That's right.
both political parties fully intend to continue subsidizing with tax dollars fossil fuel extraction.
Yeah.
Which is exactly opposite what the situation calls for. And so that's why, in answer to this angry person upstairs, that's why Paulette is supposed to knock things over in Washington, D.C. And those storms who came before her and those storms who are lined up behind her, they're all supposed to just bim, 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 so that Washington, D.C. decision makers wake up and say, maybe we need to think things over. For whom is the message, and why do you ask? So our inquiry here is, because we can see like big people up there, dead people, pushing the storms away from Washington, D.C., and it might be that they believe themselves to be doing their jobs. You know, I've got to protect the heart of the United States of America, or something like that. It's possible.
Something like that, yeah.
You know, it's possible. But how does that fit with the greater assignment of stopping the destruction of all life on Earth at humanity's hands? And we're kind of like at 1 minute to midnight now. How does that fit with that? What about stopping the destruction in a fair and just way? Why are you blocking these storms from fulfilling their destinies? Try and aim higher. Why are you blocking the storms from fulfilling their destinies? They're talking about the storms that are supposed to hit Houston.
Yeah, they are.
And how they keep getting pushed to Mexico or Louisiana, which is, again, let's hit the poor black people in Louisiana.
Right.
The poor Mexicans, rather than hit wealthy Houston.
That's right.
We should, our country and the wealthy centers of our country need to pay the price so that we make better choices. And really, are we seriously going to flood New Orleans again? And, you know, all those poor black people? Maybe. And somebody says, Louisiana earned it because everybody works offshore on the oil rigs.
I hear that person.
And that may be true, we don't know.
Well, you know what I can feel?
What?
I can feel the weight of the karma that's kind of anchored in Houston.
Oh, it's like a lead weight.
It's super, super heavy. And then if I hold that in one hand, I can hold the weight of the karma.
It is lighter karma in the coast of Louisiana,
Yeah, I
definitely.
feel the difference.
It's just energetic physics. However, there's somebody saying you have to include psychology and change from within. And if enough of the worker bees are no longer excited about it, and somebody else, now we have a melee of argument. They're just shouting
Melee
out. They're
is a good
saying
word.
that's absurd. Though those illiterates don't know nothing about no climate change.
You're pounding on the table.
Yes.
Yeah, everyone's yelling.
Everybody shouting upstairs, meaning there's not consensus. So probably what's going to happen is that the Houston targeted storms are going to continue to hit Louisiana, poor black people.
Yup.
And there's an argument for that. What about the storms that are supposed to hit Washington, D.C.? Maybe given that the Houston storms, there's too much argument, let's talk about the storms that are supposed to hit D.C. What's the argument there? Easy boys, the dirty dealer meant harm.
That's the tone. That's the tone in the higher dimension room.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's several storms lined up right now.
Sure.
Aiming for DC. So can we just let them fulfill their destinies? How about that? boom, boom, boom. Let 4 storms in a row hit DC. Boom, 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 boom. It should change. And plus, Sally's in the Gulf right now. They don't have any intention of letting Sally hit Houston.
No intention. Absolutely not.
And because there's justification, arguably justification for slam the workforce in Louisiana. And all right, that's okay. Fine. What about DC?